Good morning. Welcome to part 2 of a 3-part series on growing with grace. Last week we talked about the necessity of growing as well as how to grow and what to grow towards. This week, let's talk about grace. As I was preparing for this, I was a bit lost on how to talk about grace. How can we accurately grasp the depths of God's grace and love to us? I think grace is something that we all know as a Christian, but we really need to take a moment to meditate on its significance, right? It is for creation whom rebelled against him, right? And yet, instead of condemning creation immediately to hell, justly for the rebellion, God goes out of the way to give creation a lifeline, knowingly aware that people reject this lifeline, curse at it, mock at it again and again. And yet, he patiently, faithfully waits, not willing that any should perish, but that all might come to repentance. We can only try our best to grasp these depths of grace and love. So grace refers to the unmerited favor of God, meaning that we have what we have, not because of our actions, not because of our goodness, not because of anything we have done, but it all begins with grace. What we have unmerited, we done nothing to deserve, we have it only because God wanted it. And this can refer to the very second in which we have right now, where we are alive and breathing, right? Alluded to in Lamentations chapter 3, verse 22 to 23. But this grace is perfected, or rather perfectly demonstrated through Christ, who embodies the opportunity, right, which we did not deserve, nor did we ever earn, but made possible only because God allowed it. And as we think about the significance, and also if we think about the significance of sin, we also realize how undeserving we are, right? Having made a choice to neglect God, to disregard God, for our own self, for our own thoughts and wisdom over God. And yet this same God whom we sinned against went out of his way for his creation as deity to choose to be human for his creation, right? Being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, made no reputation, took the form of a servant, made likeness of man, humbled himself, obedient unto death, even death on the cross, right? That man may have the opportunity of a second chance in salvation, right? And this is grace. This is the demonstration of his depths of love to us. And it is in the backdrop of this grace in which, out of all the world, it is we Christians who understand these three things, right? Firstly, what we humans deserved, but what we humans have, both now and both as promised, and what it took to have this, right? And this fundamentally guides our attitudes and decisions, right? How it is in the poverty of spirit we are brought to humility, how whatever that we do, we are unprofitable servants, it is but our duty to do, and how by grace we are saved and not of works. And as we meditate on this grace, it helps to understand, or rather it helps us to understand what it then means to grow in grace, which is what we will explore next week. But to conclude on this idea of grace, let us read John chapter 1 verse 10 to 17. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to him gave him the power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and revealed his glory, and glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bare witness of him, and cried, saying, This was he of whom I spake. He that cometh after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. And of his fullness have all we received, and grace for grace. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Thank you.